the Shack Master!
All right.
The Shack Master!
I told you. Oh, God.
You just gotta keep living, man. L-I-V-I-N.
The WWF Retail Dragon Championship bout.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
It's showtime.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the P3 Radio Podcast. Here, I am Richard Mulligan, joined by my best friend, Josh Briley. Say hey, Josh.
Going, man? How's it going?
And we're just going to give you a little bit of heads up what this podcast is going to be like. We are basically doing this by the seat of our pants right now. We have no format. We have no script. We have nothing. We are barely broadcasting right now.
Just a little taste.
Just a little taste. We want to basically give you what this is going to be like when we first start going, which hopefully will be in the next couple months.
Or the next couple of weeks, depending on how things go
Yeah.
with your technology situation.
I think, yeah, the whole time, just a little background story here. We had a couple of friends, when we said that we were going to do a podcast, when I said I was going to do something online, had a few friends say, hey, come use our studio. And all in my ego here was just like, let's do this on our own. And as we were trying to hook up everything tonight, we were like, we should call our friends because we have no podcasting ability here.
We're actually broadcasting this from a tin can and a string hooked up to each other.
And I feel like while we're recording this, we have a recording device here, and we're both just watching the sound waves go as it records and bounce up and down. We can't stop looking at it. So
Like
I'm just gonna,
geologists
yeah,
in
we're
the
just like,
Nevada desert.
yeah. I don't know. How would you explain it, Josh?
I think it's like a hodgepodge, a potluck type thing. Just we'll have certain topics and whatnot, and we'll just kind of wing it from there.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like our generation is it's the golden generation for this type of topic because we have the ability, because we know what it was like before the internet. We used to hang out, like when we met each other, there was no internet. And so we can connect with that genre of get out and go play, but we also were around when the internet hit, and it was like go back inside and get on the internet.
It's kind of like the age of interpersonal relationships where you actually had to talk to somebody.
Right.
And actually form relationships, but now it's
Yeah.
No,
don't worry about this other screen. I feel like you got distracted. There was a pop-up, ladies and gentlemen, and we are working with high tech.
Change is good.
Yes, change is good, and we're just going to go ahead and keep snoozing this update because it's going to restart us if not. But anyways, go ahead. What you were saying, there was.
I was just saying the age of interpersonal relationships, and I mean, we've seen the internet hit, but it didn't really hit home with us. I mean, because we were still, like budget people, if you will.
Right. And not only that, like we didn't have the patience, because I remember when Mullins got the internet next door, we were like, hey, let's look up wrestling. And 30 minutes later, when we had saw the one thing, because somebody had picked up the phone and it was like, like, all right, this isn't worth it. We'll just watch Monday night and just be entertained then. We're not going to try to get online. But the funny thing is, as long as it took, and you could probably attest to this, as long as it took to get online and actually look that stuff up, it was like you wanted to go back after like 2 hours later. You're like, I wonder what they're saying on the internet about this. Or
Well, you remember that Glenn guy?
yeah,
Glenn, the
yeah.
suit guy.
He's
from
actually
JCPenney?
he's actually a friend of mine on Facebook. He's
Well, hello, Glenn. How
hey
you doing,
Glenn,
buddy?
how's it going?
Anyhow, he had all the good info and whatnot, but I think it was more or less there was no Google, and it was a lack of direction of where to actually go to get the good information.
Yeah, you had to ask Jeeves, and most of the time Jeeves didn't know.
Jeeves didn't know anything.
But yeah, so I feel like our generation, and I feel like I am way potted up higher than you right now, and because I see my voice popping up higher than you, just let's talk. I can cut this out, I guess, if I edit it back.
Says the guy who didn't want anybody to look at the screen.
There we go. Okay, yeah. So I'm not gonna look at the screen anymore. So yeah. So Glenn used to be, gosh, he's still on my page, and if he's gonna listen, his name's Glenn Woolford.
Wolford.
Yes, Wilford.
I never knew
And
that.
we used to go to him like when my mom worked at J.C. Penney's. We would go and spend hours upon hours at the mall. And sometimes we would stop by and he would be there and we would just talk wrestling with him for a couple of hours just to kill time till my mom got off, because we would go literally like 5 a.m. when she went in while we were off from school, and we would be there all day. And I mean, those made for some great days. I feel like there's a podcast in there that you would probably agree with that we could just talk about the whole buying your Jordans
Oh,
fiasco,
God.
just being there all day.
That was the
long.
longest day ever. It was awesome at the beginning, but there at the end, it was like trying to trudge through a
It was work.
orchestra. or
It was
something.
our first taste of what work would be if we just basically hung out in the mall for a living. So, but so
Remember
anyways,
that rib we did during that time, where we went and sat in Macy's?
oh yeah, we'd sit in their
thing,
lobby.
and we were crying, or at least me and Chris were crying about Pablo.
Yeah, you would, and we hummed. It was like we would because they had two benches. Okay, so just to paint the picture at home, there was these in Macy's at our mall. There was this lobby area that had two benches, and they were about 10 yards apart from each other. But when you walked in the front door, if you were tired from walking in the front door, you could sit down to the left or right on these benches. And we got bored one day and we just went in there and sat down and would just mess with people as they came in.
And that thing was like a friggin' echo.
Oh
chamber.
yeah. I mean, it was tiled. There was no sound absorption there at all. And I remember that one of the things we did was just hum. So we would hum and we would look around like we were trying to figure out where the noise was coming from. So it was just like, and as you're doing it, you're just looking around and people were walking in and they could tell it was us, but it was just funny. It was just one of those things we did to entertain ourselves. I will point out, while this podcast is going on right now, we are watching Dazed and Confused, the movie from our childhood, which gets me back to our topic tonight. We're going to talk about how we first started and became friends. And we're going to go way back in time on this. I guess, a good almost 30 years now.
I would say 1989 was our first cordial meeting.
Right.
But at the same time, it could have been before that. But as far as the years, but I was probably about 7. We were standing on the two sides of the street, and it's that whole, well, I can't come across and play with you because I can't cross the street.
Right.
And we were good kids. We weren't heathens by any means.
No. We
So-
listened.
So we had to figure out, okay, we just started talking, chit-chatting across the street or whatever, and I had a mini basketball. It was one maybe I got from like Pizza Hut, one of the promotional things or something, and I remember, I said, well, look, I can't come play with you. My mom said I can't cross the street, but we could roll this basketball across the street with each other, and that might be fun. Kids, easy to entertain. I don't know what prompted you, but you said, you roll that ball over here, I'm going to keep it.
See,
like,
and I remember
okay.
that, I remember that story completely different, and my mom will tell it back, and she remembers it as Hot Wheel cars. She remembers that I had some Hot Wheel cars, and when I say across the street, we're not talking about like across a normal street. When me and Josh grew up, I lived on one corner and he lived on the adjacent corner. So we're talking about crossing an entire intersection diagonally. We're not talking about like just crossing a street. So you can imagine how hard a 7 or 8 year old would have to yell to get across the street, just to say, hey. But I want to say that it was actually, you were probably like maybe 5 or 6, because when you started school, and we used to catch the bus right there on C Street. We used to catch the bus together. That was like 90, and I was going to kindergarten. You were catching the bus there with me to go to JB Young. Technically, I mean, you were probably even younger than what you remember. But the funny thing about that story is my mom used to tell me that she'd always tell us not to cross. She would always tell me and you not to get in the street. Uh, and she said she would be watching us. Of course, she was watching from the distance, but she said that it would be funny because we would roll a car, one of those Hot Wheel cars, across the street, and it would never make it. You imagine a Hot Wheel car going 15 yards to get the intersection
Across
and
bumpy asphalt, man.
yeah, bumpy asphalt, and you're talking about the muscle power of a 7-year-old arm. It's not that much. So it would always stop in the middle, and she said that what we would do was eventually one of us would just like look both ways, run out there and grab the Hot Wheel car and run back. But I don't remember the basketball thing.
I was at my aunt's at that point, but memory is perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my first memories of the basketball, and you defiantly telling me that you'll keep it if I roll it over there. So,
well,
I didn't roll it over there.
We weren't well-to-do people. If we were going to get a basketball, we were going to ask too many questions. It was just, this is ours now. I mean, I can't tell you how many dogs I wanted to claim just because they walked in our yard. But no, that's, I guess that's the way we met. But we grew up. Any stories that you want to tell? Like us growing up, anything that just pops in your mind. If you were to think, like, say, okay, so somebody came up to you and just said, "Hey, tell me a story about Richard."
Well, I mean, one of the real special things as far as like when we were in our infancy of friendship would be that the birthday thing where you had the big box, kind of like Sting had the big box reveal.
I've got a picture of that too, by the way, on Facebook.
And I was so happy for you. Well, I mean,
did you know what I was getting that
no,
day?
it was like we both got the present.
Okay, so backstory, because not everybody knows what we know, and backstory is I show up from school one day. I guess it was second grade, first grade, something like that. I
believe it was second or third, something.
And
no,
it was somewhere
second.
around 91 because I was wearing. I need to. The caption of this podcast needs to be that picture of me and you standing by the box on my front porch. I've got it on Facebook. I need to post it up. It's me and you.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Why don't you just post it on one of our social media outlets?
Speaking of which,
do the plug.
Yeah, good plug here. If you want to contact us, our email right now is p3radio, the number 1, at gmail.com. So we're going to encourage you throughout the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, whenever we start rolling, to send us in stuff. Send us in your stories. Send us in your thoughts, your feelings, what you want us to talk about.
Well, that means to all criticisms, all praises, all whatever you want to talk about, just send it in. If you just want to tell us something, send it in, and we may mention you or whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
we just want your feedback.
Right, and we're talking about doing some contests later on. We're talking about giving away some stuff. We're in the process right now of creating a logo. Hopefully going to get some shirts made, send some of those out, all that stuff. But right now, if you go to Pop Poncho on Facebook, you will see us, Pop, P-O-P, Poncho, P-O-N-C-H-O. If you just type that in, you'll see the background of Bemis and P3 Radio logo right there on the screen.
That is it.
Okay, so, all right, so we're going to take a time out here and say the reason we're going to have formats is because me and Josh get on tangents. We talk. So if you ever met Josh and if you ever met me, you've met us. You've met both of us. And I don't mean that like if you've met both of us, you've met us.
You
that
have met
stupid.
us.
If you've met Josh, you've met me. And if you've met Richard, you've met Josh. That's just the way things have gone. Both of our wives could probably sit down and talk and probably have a better podcast of the years.
That's perception.
Right. Of the years that they have sat and known us and just trading stories like, oh my God, does he do this? Yeah. Does he do this? Yep. So, okay. So just keep that in mind. So
speaking of tangents, I went to Walmart today, right? And my wife, she's really just never looked at wrestling toys like we look at. We scientifically look at it.
Right.
And they've released a new Dusty Rhodes, and it's just a regular, figure, not an elite, but just a regular, whatever. Right. And literally, he's got the burn on his belly from where the sheik burned him.
Right.
You know, they didn't put any of the scars on the arm. They just put the burn on the belly, bright red. Get the burn on the belly, baby, from the Sheik in Detroit.
The Sheik burned
The
my baby.
Sheik burnt my belly in Detroit, baby. Anyhow,
I got a request earlier today. I don't know what you were talking about there.
well, I mean, I'm just saying our views on certain things. You know, I mean, it's totally different, but at the same time, there's so much that is alike that, you know, if we could just kind of pass off our existence on paper, we would probably be confused with the same person.
Right.
And do you remember our writing? Do you
Right,
remember
they were very similar.
We could do each other's homework.
Yes.
Now that's freaky.
You would pass, I would fail. It would be great. I was calling you dumb there.
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing so I don't feel aggressive.
But no, it was like, yeah, we were pretty close to the same person. It was like that Talladega Nights. 2 people, 1 plop. So
I think that was from Harold and Kumar
Nope.
Go to White Castle.
Nope.
The twins and the shower stall, or
no,
the
that was
bathroom stall.
Talladega Nights. Talladega Nights. They went
1 plop.
Yeah, that was Talladega Nights. It was the Sacha Baron Cohen's character. He had the 2 girls that were together, and they were saying their name was the certain thing.
Now I recall.
Yeah, there you go. But so
the
anyways,
White Castle, they were playing Battle.
the taco S's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing we're going to tackle on this. We're going to try our best. We're going to try our best not to have cursing. Now, we're going to have callers. We're not going to limit them. We're not going to say, hey, you cannot do this. You cannot do that. We apologize in advance. But for the most part, it's going to be clean. It's going to be something that you can download, play in your car with your kids in there. Another thing is, we're not going to talk politics. We're not. We're just not. Because it divides everyone. And there's no reason to argue it. And I'm just trying to kill time right now because Josh is peeing. And he's laughing right now. And every time he laughs, you can hear the water splash a little higher. But anyways, I had a request today. From my wife. That
I have a bunch of those every day.
Oh, from my wife or you?
No.
Wait a minute
just
here.
from
Wait
the
a
wife.
minute here.
Oh my God! You found out.
No, I had a
I'm
request.
sorry,
to-
Julie. You know that's all. BS.
No, she understands. She gets this. She's been with me long enough to know.
But then again, we were talking about the same person.
Yeah, we're talking about this. It's not cheating if it's the same person. Right? No, so, anyways, I had a request from my wife that we talk about Fred.
Oh,
And for those of you that don't know who Fred was, okay, so
now there are some people that are listening that know exactly who Fred
oh
is.
God, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people.
The
that know
police
Fred.
have been called on.
Yeah,
Fred.
okay, so let's not get ahead of the story here. So let's back
I'm
up.
just saying he has a borderline criminal record.
In the summer of 1996, I think, was it 96, 95, 96?
It was when I came back from
That's
my uncle's.
well, that's what I'm talking about. When was that? 95, 96?
The first time I came back and I had a knowledge of a Fred was 95 because I went to summer school that year,
Right.
you know, and I got to spend 2 weeks.
Right. Because
with my
Richard
uncle.
did his homework wrong.
Oh God. No, we
No,
won't get
no,
into
no.
that.
No, so 95. So Josh comes back from Louisville, where Josh was visiting what would be later on the training facility. He has a video of him wrestling and training and doing things in the ring that made me very jealous. One of the things that he had was there was this dummy that was made out of clothes and stuffing, and we were infatuated with that. And
It had a head,
it had a head, it had
the
body.
legs, the arms, everything.
So we decided when he came back that we were going to make our own. So what we did was we took an old sweatshirt, we took an old pair of pants, we took a hooded sweatshirt at one time and made it a head, and we sewed this together with like shoestrings, and we stuffed it with old couch cushions and everything. And as it went by, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. We did more and more stuff with this.
Don't you
but-
find it strange that at that time you just so happened to be getting rid of an old
It
couch?
was fate.
Exactly.
It was fate. We destroyed the couch, and then we used the cushions. It's like hunting.
I-
We hunted and a beige Barca Lounger, and we stuffed. And later on, I would put shoes on it and almost knocked myself out when I picked it up for a power bomb, and
Oh my
immediately took the
God.
shoes off.
Those shoes, I mean, you got to understand. I mean,
Well, we used old stuff from our childhood.
well, yeah, but the point of Fred was, and I never understood this at the time. It took a long time to set in because it was never explained to me properly, I guess. Whenever you had Fred, the object was don't hurt Fred.
Right. And when we say Fred, we're talking about the dummy we made. We named him Fred, and I don't know why we named him Fred.
Because he was Fred.
I guess so. He was Fred. We just named him Fred. And I don't know if it was a tribute to. And the weird thing was there was two people in my family named Fred, and it wasn't named after either one of them.
Could have been subconscious. You never know.
Subconscious. My original grandpa was named Fred that passed away when my mom was real young, and then we had an uncle that was he's gonna come up a lot.
Uncle Freddie. Are you
Uncle
serious?
Freddie is gonna come up a lot in
Oh,
our
God.
podcast. But
Uncle Freddie.
so you got two Freds there. Neither one of them was named after Fred. We just picked the name Fred. And so we named this dummy that was just basically clothes with stuffing.
My uncle, he would say, you don't want to hurt the dummy or something like that. But it didn't register, everything that he was telling me. But, in hindsight, it makes sense.
Right.
Don't hurt the dummy because you're not going to hurt the dummy that you're in the ring with, But
No, I get you. I really get it because, like,
at the time, we didn't know it was a work,
Right.
and you didn't understand why you couldn't hurt Fred.
right, and you would fight somebody. Like I remember the most frustrating thing ever was the fact that when I was in like 5th, 6th grade, and you 7th and 8th, or 8th and 9th, was the fact that everyone said wrestling was fake.
Oh my God!
And you were labeled. It was like the scarlet letter. If you liked wrestling, you were a nerd.
a nerd
So-
who just couldn't get with the times or whatever.
Right. And then the whole NWO Steve Austin craze hit. And we hated those people because they were like, "Did you watch Wrestling Monday?" And we're like,
I watch wrestling every month.
Right, exactly. And it was like,
You know
oh my God, I want to kill you because you hated me last year and
exactly.
you didn't like the fact. Now, let's not get it twisted. We were never like bullied to the point where we were pushed down or physically assaulted.
Well,
Because
no, but
for
what
one, we were
people
very
did
large
say-
kids.
But what people did say,
We
it
were
resonated.
emotionally battered.
Yeah,
It was more of a mental abuse.
well,
How did it make
I
you
just-
feel?
I think we kind of took criticism like people don't really, or you're not supposed to take it.
Right.
To where, some people would just brush stuff off.
Well, we were fat poor kids. How else we were gonna- I saw
No,
you fat poor kids playing with that dummy outside your house.
Well,
What do you mean? And then we had to play dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. But it'd
I
be like,
literally, I'm off shooting right now. But I don't care. Literally in the 8th grade. Now that's the grade to where you try to look the coolest,
right.
and you feel so good about yourself because you're the top of the heap, if you will, and because middle school.
Because you have 7th and 6th grade below
Oh
you.
God, you're the top of the heap. I literally went to school one time, and several times, really.
Yeah.
And,
Just a few times.
And oh my God, they were talking about. I seen you playing cops and robbers with your buddies and blah blah blah. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I remember
he denied me like Judas, ladies and
oh
gentlemen.
my God, me, you, Chris, Ben Clark. Yeah, I'm name drop. I'm dropping all. I'm throwing everybody on
we
the
play
bus.
laser tag.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not cops and robbers.
Well, I mean, literally, I do remember a plastic gun and us, having a little bit too much fun with
It
it.
was
That
it like
was
we're
before-
handcuffing people and put them
Well,
in?
yeah, but I mean, we were too old to be doing that.
I've
but-
never heard this story. Like,
You were a part of the story.
I know.
I think
I
you're-
feel like I'm a part of the story, but I've never heard that you
So-
got ridiculed for it.
Well, that's not something you just go and tell your best friends because you're still trying to.
Yeah, you still
have
want to
that-
play laser tag. You don't want to be
Yeah,
ostracized from.
yeah, and when you become an adult, I think that's when you start not caring about what people think.
But honestly, dude, like that was one of the things. Like when we were kids, you could probably honestly look back and go, Richard really didn't care. Like there were a lot of things that I didn't care about. Now, the one or two things that I did care about was losing face between you and Chris. But in the grand scheme of things, I didn't care. Like,
I think that's what I really look back. When I look back, and that's something that I never really vocalized it. When we were kids, but I can say it now.
are we having
because
an Oprah breakdown right now?
No, I'm
But-
trying to.
But I love you, man.
No, I'm just telling you that at the time I wasn't egotistically capable of telling you the grand scheme of everything, and because I felt like I was the oldest, and
Well, I was the
and
little brother.
I tried to maintain a certain face, if you will.
Right. You had to
And-
be the cooler, too
Right.
cool for school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're going to do an ollie later on our skateboard.
And the thing about it was, I always admired that you honestly didn't care,
No.
and I think that's why it was hard to vocalize it to you, was because I cared so much.
I mean, you were the
You
guy
know?
that basically carried the burden of being the older one.
And
So
it's like,
you had you were upper management basically, and you had the CEOs breathing down your neck. I guess in a way, yeah, in a way, you had the CEOs of upper middle school management breathing down your neck of what it was cool and what was not. But you were also trying to maintain a
friendship.
relationship. Yeah, maintain a friendship relationship.
with
really-
with somebody. You were 2 grades behind me,
Right.
but you were only a year and just a couple of
Right.
months younger. Just the virtues of a early birthday, I guess. But
Or
you were
late
the old
birthday.
guy in your class, and
I was the old. I swear to God.
You were the Wooderson.
So swear to God, the first day of 6th grade, like mind you, I was almost 6 foot tall in 6th grade.
no, you were 6 foot tall.
I was 5'8" in
sixth
5th
grade.
grade. I was 5'8" in 5th grade. I remember I was 5'3" in 3rd grade. But I was 5'8" in 5th grade, and I remember 6th grade. I was almost 6 foot tall. Swear to God, two of my really good friends, John Reese and Dustin Peterson. So that's where I met them. That was in communications class in West Middle School. So we're in West Middle School communications class, and they pair us up just by random. Like it was just a roll of the dice that I met these guys. So roll of the dice, meet these guys. Later on, I find out that both of them thought I had failed like at least 2 grades. and later on, it was just like I equated it to being like the 21 Jump Street of middle school. I was like, no one trusted me with any secrets.
No,
if
but you're an
anyone-
older spy.
Right. It was like, this guy failed like 19 times. Why am I even talking? And it was odd because it was always like a stigma because I was always so big. I was always so tall, and I was always like a little smarty because I had to be sharp-witted because I hung out with you and I hung out with Mullins, and y'all were both older than me in school. You were
He
2
hit
years.
like puberty when he was like 9 years old. I mean, he had armpit hair. I was
Yeah.
so envious before him.
I had
thought,
aunts
"Man."
asking you, so you know Mullins, right? So no, Mullins was a great looking guy. If you're listening to this, Mullins, you know it's true. All of our girlfriends wanted to be with you.
Oh
I know
my
that
God.
rhymes, and that's almost like a Hallmark card, but it's totally the truth.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. We all knew he was like the male model type, and didn't even know why.
Right.
He'd hang out with two guys like us,
Right.
you know. But at the same time, we were happy to have him part of the crew because it gave hot chicks a reason to ask, talk to us, you know.
But it was always funny. It was like you'd be talking to a girl, you'd be like,
So
"Oh,
you need to
no,
tell
wait,
Chris."
don't get that far ahead of me." It was always like, "Hey, what are you doing Friday?" "Oh, I don't know." And this is like middle school for my wife if she's listening. So this wasn't like last week, okay? People aren't still contacting
So
me
a
to get
month
to
ago-
Mullins. So a month ago, this chick was like, "Hey, you know Mullins, right?" No, I was like, okay, he's really good looking, but it hasn't reached that point. Uh, so as a middle schooler, it was always like these girls that were way out of our league, but like a 4 to Chris would come up to us and be like, "Hey, what you got going on Friday?" And you would feel totally awesome about it. And you would be like, "Oh, we're going to do this and this and this." And most of the time it'd be very nerdy stuff. It would be like, "We're going to play video games.
watch wrestling,
And we're going to watch wrestling, and I think SummerSlam 94 with the ladder matches out. So we're going to watch that." And you would just, and they would just be like, "Uh-huh, uh-huh." It would be like the,
yeah.
it would be like the, what is the, Wayne's World 2 where they're talking to the radio DJ and he's like, "Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Handsome Dan.
yeah, yeah, handsome Dan here."
Now let's pause there for a
Right.
second. Which do you prefer?
When he
Wayne's
says,
World 1?
hold on, wait. When he says pause, we're going to
let's-
get off on a
let's pause in
tangent.
time. Let's pause time.
For those of you that were wondering where we were getting with the Chris story, you'll never know.
Let me,
because
let me educate you people for a second. When I say
and when I
something
say
like
that we're talking to people,
I mean,
we're
let's
both
pause in
looking at the waves of
At the
our
seismic
voices.
waves, brother.
We're both
Seismic
pointing at it.
waves.
We're like, "Listen, people," as we point to our own voice waves. That's what we're doing right now. So, no, but
I'm gonna get my dog riled up. You
yeah,
know that?
your dog got
My
riled up
caged
right there.
animal.
So, oh God, no one's going to listen to our podcast. And I feel like we have a lot more to talk about. And we're like 51 minutes in.
Well, that's all about the tangents.
Ah, Jesus. Maybe we need to edit this down a little bit. So, anyways,
What I'm saying, well, I can't even remember what we're talking about.
Chris.
You broke my tangent. You have broken the time lapse. The time warp.
time lapse, if you will. The
you broke
space-time continuum,
You broke
if you
space and
will.
time, baby. You
Yeah.
broke space and time.
So, no, we were talking about how good-looking Chris
What?
was. Here's the thing. I don't think either of us knew how good-looking Chris was.
We did. We just didn't want to admit it because we were that young. As you get older, you start not to care. That's just how it is.
Oh, it's like, we did. We had mirrors. What are you talking about? We knew.
Well, I'm just saying the sands of time kind of.
And it was funny because we were always so like
Defensive.
no, that wasn't the word I was going.
Well, I was because I was so.
What do you mean he's good looking?
No, it wasn't that. It was just Do you remember how he was the fastest and all that?
Yeah, he was in shape.
No, I'm talking about even at school. He was faster than most of the people in his PE class and whatnot.
He always ran funny though.
Well, yeah, but he was super quick, and I couldn't deal with that. So we had the foot race one time or whatever, and I chose to go barefoot because we all know without shoes you're non-restrictive. So anyhow,
What?
he beat me by like 4 feet, but I was so proud that it was just 4 feet, not 10 yards. You know what I mean?
And that the troves of women that were looking on, all 24 of them that
all
were
2 neighbors.
that
were looking.
You gonna edit this part out?
Well, no, it's organic. I mean,
All right, so, oh God, if anyone's listening to this point, God, you
surely
are awesome.
at least 2 people are.
We're gonna edit this down for real. Like, we're not going to have all the beginnings.
Well, let me tell you this. At this point, we were just testing levels.
Yeah.
And then we got off on a tangent.
we haven't done anything but look at our voices in seismographic form.
And you know, I said the Nevada desert at one point, but
The Nirvana Desert.
Nirvana, not Nevada. That
I'm on a plane. All right, so we're gonna laugh at a lot of inside jokes, and I'm apologizing right now.
at some point you'll get them.
Yeah,
It just takes
or
time.
not. All right, so you might appreciate this. So
Lay them.
the other day, I'm sitting there, and my wife is laying on the couch, and I look at her, and I'm trying to like talk to her.
Figure out a way to elbow drop.
Right? No, just to like tap her,
Right.
just tap her. So
Hey, I'm here.
yeah, just so.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes I just like to annoy her.
I don't
Sometimes
take that approach. I literally just go up and pinch the nipple.
Right.
Seriously. You can ask.
Who says
you can-
romance is dead?
You can ask
know?
my wife. That
The
is my
chivalry.
main go-to move.
I feel
If
like
I'm
she
trying to
would-
annoy you, I'm just bam, pop the nipple. And sometimes I'll just pants her.
Yeah.
You know, she's in there cooking hamburger steak or whatever, and then bam, pants her. See, what are you doing? And, well, I love you. And then I walk away. You know, that
Oh.
makes me feel good.
There's a therapy session there. That's
I'm just saying, she does the same thing to me, you know, and I'm sure you're there with your wife. You know, you try to annoy her to a certain degree.
yeah.
I kind of take things to the extreme.
Right. All right. Well, that got awkward.
Somebody asked, you know, how long have you been married? And I said, well, almost 5 years. Feels like 500.
That's a dad joke if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, but if you live it, then it's
You
totally funny.
You snapped back and looked at me like, "How dare you, sir?"
No, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just when you're with someone that you truly love, it feels like you've been with them forever.
Right.
I'm coming up on my 5th anniversary. Do you know that? My 5th.
Yeah, because it was around my
anniversary.
birthday. Yeah.
You've been married to your wife for literally like 10 years or however long.
12.
Oh, God. That's
Yeah.
that long?
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. 2005.
Congratulations.
Well, it was in April.
Was
but
it
thank you.
2005? No.
yeah. April of
2004?
2005.
You sure?
Nope, 2005.
Dang.
But thank you for the
Yeah.
early or late. Congratulations. I
Well, whatever,
appreciate
you
that.
know. But anyways, I'm approaching my 5th anniversary.
Yeah.
It
I was there
literally.
for the first one.
Well, I understand that because I kind of crashed your party.
Yeah,
so to
no,
speak.
it's like we
Now,
had a birthday party.
I told you I felt bad about that. Now,
I
ladies and gentlemen,
I don't care.
I've attested to this fact ever since.
My daughter was born and my best friend got married.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Literally on Richard's birthday party of 2012.
What day was it?
It was October 12th.
Okay, so the day after.
I think at that point, I literally snapped out of what I was talking about, and I thought that maybe, just maybe, you were working for my wife. And you were asking me, what day was that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, no.
literally...
I'm sorry to put you in that. I didn't realize I was putting you in that position.
No, I know how...
Because this is being recorded. I didn't realize that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
good
like
job.
any kind of deposition
Yeah, there you
will
go.
be recorded.
There you go. You get
But-
the word. Trying to get deposition.
Anyhow, you know, your mother-in-law was like, you know, I'm an ordained minister, legit. I mean, she didn't say them exact words, but
She's
But
she's
that's
a
what
little
she-
bit of a poet.
Yeah.
A little wordsmith.
she's a worker. You understand? She said, I'm an ordained minister, legit, you know? And we said, well, I mean, if you want to marry us, you know, it's whatever. She said, you should just get married now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, and I came to you first, and I said,
Right.
look, man, your mother-in-law says we should just get married now. I don't want to kind
I
of
got the car started.
rain poop. I don't want to rain poop on your
Right.
party.
No, you're good.
No, that's what I told
That's
you
what
at
I
the time.
said. No, I'm saying that's what I
I
said.
said I don't want to rain poop on your party. I'm not trying to, throw a tent over your carnival or whatever.
Right.
And you said, no, man. You go out there. You do what you got to do. If that's what you really want to do, go for it.
Right.
I'm not going to be offended in the slightest.
And I wasn't. No, not at all.
And that attests to what type of person you really are.
no,
Because that was a birthday party. There were other people there that could give a less about what was going on in my personal life, but you literally said, all right, man, go handle it. That's awesome. And I'm gonna tell you, I was truly honored. I really was.
yeah, well, I mean, I was honored to be there. And just the fact that I don't have to memorize another date, that I know anytime.
Oh, God.
Yeah, anytime my birthday is coming around, that y'all's anniversary is coming up, and it's like, oh, hey,
I have trouble remembering my birthday, to be honest with you.
did I send you a happy birthday? And I was like, happy birthday, and you're like,
you did, and it was like a day early.
I was like, I forgot what day it was. Happy birthday, and you're like, yeah, that's that type of thing.
It's not happened yet. And that's fine because we're adults now.
Yeah, you get older, things happen.
Birthdays have no bearing. If anything, they're a hindrance.
Yeah,
because it's another day to remind you of how the hourglass is that much more thin of the sand than what it was the year before.
And it's just another day to remind you, if you haven't decided where your body's going to be put.
Hey, I told my wife,
you're more irresponsible now. Like once you hit 30 and you don't have a burial plot, you're more irresponsible now as a person.
Well, let me ask you this.
You're putting the burden
How old are
on
you right
your
now?
people. I'm 33. I'll be 34 in October.
Do you have a burial
I
plot
do not.
right now? Okay. So, anyhow, as I was saying,
right.
I told my wife, I said, look, I don't care. You throw me in the trash after I'm dead. It doesn't matter to me.
That looks a little suspicious. I'm just going to say.
I get that. I'm just saying, I'm taking the Frank Reynolds approach. You throw me in the trash, it doesn't matter to me because I'm dead. It doesn't matter. I said, look, you can cremate me and that's the cheapest way to go now because it's only like $200 and some odd dollars opposed to a full funeral, which is over 10 grand. And, it's all about the Benjamins, as they say. We're from that time period. It's all about the Benjamins.
You roll that ball over here, I'm going to keep it.
Hey, yeah. You roll that ball over here on this side. I'm taking it.
It touches my property.
It's
mine.
done. It is done. So, if I die, not if, it's just a when.
It's very upbeat process we come on our podcast.
I'm just saying.
Y'all listen up.
If I was
for later on
tomorrow,
when we talk about more funeral plans on the P3 Podcast Radio.
P3 Podcast.
P3 Podcast means burial plot podcast. We're going to talk about all of those things where we want to die and where we want to be put to rest.
Somehow I think that like at some point this will be released as like a bonus show or something. Like, this will never see the light of day.
No, I'm going to edit this down tremendously. Like it's going to be like, welcome to the P3 Podcast. So when I die, I want to be put burial plots. Thank you for listening to the P3 Podcast.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
yeah.
I just said, you can cremate me because it's totally cheap.
How did we get here? We made a dummy named Fred. Chris Mullins was beautiful. And cremate me.
Oh, 8th grade prom. Chris Moses' model.
He's dancing with all the women.
Chris, let me tell you something. If you were here right now, I'll tell you, put on a mic, buddy.
Yeah.
Bless
That's
your heart.
it.
Because
Jesus. I feel like, okay, how did you get here?
where is he now?
He's in Portland.
What is he doing in Portland?
Art?
Art?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Art? He does artwork.
What is he like?
He's an artist. He's a very
Go.
accomplished artist.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And you understand, we knew that he had that capability.
Oh, yeah. Well, the sound of the music there means that we have reached the end of this pilot episode. We'd like to thank all of you for listening and bearing with us as we tested the waters here just to kind of get our levels right. And hopefully you were entertained enough to come back and join us when we start this show again for real in the fall. In the meantime, if you have something that you would like to share with us, please hit us up on Facebook at Pop Poncho. You can just search that in your Facebook search feed, POPPONCHO. 2 words there, Pop Poncho. You'll see us come up. Also, on our email, send us all your questions and concerns, criticisms, what have you. Send those over to P3Radio1. That's P3Radio, the number 1, at gmail.com. We will hopefully be able to answer all your questions, get into some more stuff as we go. We want to make this as interactive as we can, and we look for your feedback and hopefully just for an opportunity to entertain you. We'd like to thank you again for listening to this episode and hope to have you back real soon. Thanks again, and good night.